You know, if you've ever been part of any kind of project, I bet you've heard this one question over and over and again. So, when's it going to be done? It sounds so simple, right? But that one little question is almost always the start of a story that ends in, well, missed deadlines and a whole lot of frustration. So what's the deal? Why is that question so impossible to answer? Let's dig in. And this is it. This is the conversation that happens in pretty much every office every single day. One person needs a number so they can make a plan. The other is basically being asked to predict the future. And it seems like a simple conflict, but it's actually rooted in two very different and, you know what, equally valid points of view.
All right, so let's start with the person who has to ask the question, the planner, the product owner. For them, asking how long isn't about trying to add pressure. It's about finding a really crucial piece of the puzzle. So think about it. A product owner's job is a massive balancing act. They're constantly trying to figure out what customers actually need. Then they have to translate those needs into concrete features, and then, this is the real key, they have to decide what gets built first. And that is where it all gets complicated.
Because here's the fundamental problem, the thing you can never escape. There will always be more ideas, more cool features, more requests than there is time or people to build them, always. And since you can't possibly do everything, you're forced to make choices. To make good choices, you need good information. So let's say a big release is just around the corner. What do? Do you go for that one big, high-reward feature that everybody's been asking for? It's super exciting, but it's also high risk. If you miss that deadline, the whole release can feel like a total failure. Or do you play it safe? Do you go with a handful of smaller features that you know you can finish on time? It's a safer bet for sure, but the reward is smaller. To make that call, a planner absolutely needs an estimate. It's their number one tool for managing this constant trade-off.
Okay, now let's flip the script and look at the other side of the table. For the builder, the developer, the world looks completely different. When they say, "I don't know," they're not trying to be difficult. It's often the most honest answer they can possibly give.
To really get where they're coming from, we have to talk about this invisible force that haunts every single project. It's called technical debt. Think of it like this. Every time you take a quick and easy shortcut instead of doing something the right way, it's like putting a small charge on a credit card. Yeah, at first, no big deal, right? But those little charges, they add up. And the interest? Oh, the interest. It builds and builds until everything you try to do in the future is just slower and way more painful.
And you have to remember, a good developer isn't just building one new thing in a vacuum. They are the keepers of the entire system. They know that every single shortcut adds to that technical debt. So their job isn't just about building the next feature, it's about keeping the whole thing from slowly crumbling from the inside out. And this, right here, is the core of their problem. The planner thinks they're asking, how long will it take to build this one feature? But what the developer hears is, how long will it take to build this feature, plus fix all the hidden broken stuff and technical debt you're about to stumble upon? And really, how can anyone possibly put a number on the great unknown?
Let me tell you a story that will probably feel painfully familiar to anyone who's ever built anything. It starts with a seemingly simple task. The estimate should take about 2 days. Sounds easy enough, right? Famous last words.
And then the digging begins. You start working and bam, you hit something you did not expect. That simple little change is connected to this critical piece of the system that nobody has dared to touch in years. You make one tiny adjustment, and suddenly alarms start going off everywhere. Every little fix you make just uncovers another, deeper problem you never even knew was there.
And just like that, your 2-day task has morphed into a 2-week archaeological dig. The original work? Yeah, that was simple. But paying down all the technical debt you just uncovered along the way, that was the real monster. This is exactly why developers are so hesitant to give a firm number. They've lived this story way too many times. So you've got the planner who desperately needs a number, and you've got the builder who knows deep down that any number is just a wild guess. This is the moment a simple planning tool starts to feel more like a weapon, and that's when trust begins to completely break down.
I mean, just look at the dictionary definition of the word. The key words here are tentatively and approximately. By its very nature, an estimate is a guess. It is not a promise. It is absolutely not a guarantee. But this right here is the huge disconnect. This is where it all goes wrong. See, an estimate starts as an educated guess. It's just a tool to help with planning. But what happens? It gets written down in an email, maybe put into a spreadsheet.
It gets passed up the chain of command, and somewhere along the way, that soft, squishy guess hardens into a rock-solid deadline. And poof, a guess becomes an unbreakable contract. And the fallout from this whole misunderstanding? It's just toxic. Developers learn that their honest guesses will be used against them, so they just stop giving them. Or even worse, they start padding their estimates with these huge, just-in-case buffers to protect themselves. Trust completely evaporates, and the estimate, the tool that was supposed to help, is now useless. It's just a weapon in a game where everybody loses.
So what's the solution? Do we just burn the whole system down and get rid of estimates altogether? Well, not necessarily. The fix isn't about finding some magical formula for perfect predictions. It's about changing the culture and, more importantly, the conversation around the number itself.
So maybe the number itself isn't the real villain here. The actual problem is how we treat it. When we take a guess and treat it like a blood oath, and then punish the person who made the guess when reality turns out to be messy, we're setting the entire team up to fail. So, a much healthier way to do this might look something like this. You start with a rough, approximate estimate, but, and this is the most important part, the second a developer uncovers something unexpected, they communicate it immediately. Then, everyone looks at the new information as a team and adjusts the plan together. It stops being this one-time, scary transaction and becomes a continuous, ongoing conversation. And this has to be a two-way street. It's a partnership. The builders have to commit to providing a steady stream of updates, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the planners? They have to create an environment where a developer feels safe enough to say, hey, I was wrong, this is way bigger than we thought, without any fear of blame. The goal isn't a perfect prediction. The goal is a shared understanding of what's really going on. Ultimately, what we all want are guarantees in a world that is fundamentally unpredictable. I mean, think about it. The home renovation that's 3 months late and double the budget, or the 10-minute drive that somehow takes an hour because of traffic. This isn't just about software at all, is it? So think about this. Where else in your life are you mistaking a simple guess for an unbreakable guarantee?